Hi, I'm the rap critic. Let's talk about
racist cartoons! You ready for your next crossover with me?
No.
Okay, but see, here it says right in the contract, Article 16, Section 12B, rap critic agrees to 5 crossovers while Jess is living at the above address.
I would never agree to the... Oh, yeah, that's my signature. Yeah, Apple Corporation? What? I'm not gonna give you my liver. iOS 10 terms and conditions. Oh, okay. Man, I really gotta start reading these things.
Today we're looking at the Censored 11.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Why would you even cover this in the first place?
Because I told people I would review them way before I realized how terrible these actually were.
Oh. Why do you want me in it?
Because these cartoons are really uncomfortable. And besides, the reason why this racist exists in the first place is because of a skewed history that only shows things from a white person's perspective. So I figured my audience would value input from another source.
Well, why not an African-American historian or something?
Well, most historians read contracts before they sign them.
Damn it.
Today we're looking at the Censored 11, the 11 cartoons that were so bad that some of them we couldn't even find on YouTube or DVD. We had to find them on Daily Motion.
In Daily Motion. So, Hittin, the Trail for Hallelujahland was released on November 28, 1931 by Warner Brothers. The copyright for the cartoon expired in '59, but even public domain has not stopped it from being withheld from distribution since about 1968.
The makers of this cartoon thought they were cute by satirizing Disney's style with the Steamboat Willie cartoon, naming this one Piggy instead of Willie. Honestly though, as a parody, it kind of fails because it imitates the elements of Disney's exaggerated style so much to a T that it makes it pretty much indistinguishable from an early Disney cartoon anyway. It's more of a ripoff than an honest-to-God parody to me. Now, the racism here doesn't really shine through that much, being that they only had 2 colors to work with anyway. So, of course, characters are going to be more black than white because it's more interesting to the eye concerning movement.
But then you notice that there's a character literally named Uncle Tom, who, completely separate from the rest of the cartoon, just gets knocked into a graveyard for the sole purpose of fulfilling the antiquated black folk show is scared of ghosts stereotype. But that never made sense anyway. I mean, yeah, the typical black person would probably be afraid of 3 walking, talking skeletons, just about as much as anyone would be afraid of seeing 3 actual walking, talking skeletons. Altogether, for that to be the reason this cartoon was banned, I'd say this is relatively tame. So for one stereotype that doesn't even hold up as a stereotype in the first place, I'd let this one live. Not gonna lie, this isn't so bad so far.
Oh, we're just getting started.
Oh god, no.
Sunday Go to Meetin Time was a Warner Brothers cartoon released on August 8th, 1936, in color! Now, with the innovation of color and more elaborate detail in production, we're able to see a much more blatant depiction of blackface, and that's pretty much what this is, cartoon blackface.
Which is funny.
No, it's not.
Let me finish the sentence. Which is funny, considering that blackface is supposed to be a cartoonization of black people in the first place. So I guess this format works out perfectly for their racist bull aesthetic. I mean, from a bigoted, inconsiderate perspective, this is a great innovation for blackface. You have all these characters written, drawn, and voiced by white people to illustrate to other white people how those primitive black folk are.
Some of this is really hard to watch, especially seeing these obviously white guy voices coming out of these creepily animated black people's mouths. You know, I think that's the dissonance with this cartoon, and most blackface cartoons. See, cartoons by nature are usually about exaggerating certain physical characteristics, but it's usually for a reason.
And it's not that black people can't be drawn cartoonishly just like Warner Brothers draws white people cartoonishly sometimes. It's just that there's such an odd disconnect with the intent. Like, why do we draw Elmer Fudd cartoonishly? Because he's a buffoon, a fool to be a folly to Bugs Bunny's antics. But when you see the other characters who are human, they look relatively normal. But in any cartoon that depicts black people, there's always this distinct disconnect. Everyone has big ass lips and looks like they're constricted to either the mammy or the coon, and it's ridiculous.
Once a week I dress in my good Sunday best and I wear a great big smile.
After a while, it feels less offensive and more like they just don't know what black people look like. Like they've only heard sparse descriptions of black people and are just going with their crudest interpretation. Like that John Singleton Copley painting where he tried to draw a shark, but he had never seen one before, so it looks like some weird creation with shark lips and I think a mustache.
What other internet show do you know that brings up John Singleton Copley paintings? We're cultured as f***.
Because black folk are church-going, God-fearing people, the plot of the cartoon follows the minstrel show setting. The gags that follow are painful at best. Sambo character rings the church bells, but oh, his pants come off each time! And a mammy and an old Uncle Tom shine the heads of pickaninny kids, and a woman takes her bra off the clothesline to create bonnets for her twins. And then we find Nicodemus, our protagonist, shooting dice because them lazy black folks love to gamble, don't you know?
You know, I feel like this would work a lot better if these characters weren't black, because cartoons do this all the time, showing conventional activities being done in an unconventional way. Like, if these were all birds or farm animals, this would be silly. But the thing is, where we'd find it funny if it were an animal cartoon doing something humans do, but in an animal-specific way as a light jab at what we know about this particular animal, we're supposed to find this funny because black people are doing them as a jab at what they think black people are like. And well, since black people are, people with autonomy and it knocks the wind out of these gags and makes them severely hurtful to anyone who has a passing empathy with other human beings who don't happen to look exactly like them.
I think that's the thing about this comedy. It's so obviously tone deaf to how humor is supposed to work here. Comedy essentially works best when you're punching up, not down. That's why it's funnier to make jokes about political figures than it is to make fun of poor people. That is, unless you don't really know that much about those people, in which case you find certain jokes funny because you have no empathy for that group of people. These jokes flat out fail because they're done by a bunch of economically advantaged white guys giggling their asses off at jokes made at the expense of poor blacks. And Jesus Christ, it's not like you don't know why these people are poor. You know that recent thing where they weren't allowed to get paid for the work they were forced to do? This fucking cartoon came out in 1936. Slavery was abolished in like 1865. That's not even like 100 years, you guys. It wasn't even that long ago.
For context, the Holocaust ended in 1945. That's actually 71 years ago from this year. As in, there are people who were in the Holocaust that are still alive today. Just as there were probably people who were slaves and slaveholders in America that were still alive. But I guarantee you, no one's making jokes about Jewish people having PTSD.
Well, there are assholes who make jokes about Jewish people in the Holocaust.
But I bet they're not getting funding to make children's cartoons. Oh yeah, let's not forget about this. These were cartoons essentially made for children. Sure, adults watched as well, but I'm willing to bet you money that no one's making Jews in oven jokes on Steven Universe.
So for its ridiculous depictions of black people, yeah, this one doesn't need to be seen by anybody. Next is Clean Pastures, released on May 22nd, 1937. Set in Harlem with gambling caricatures that drink and dance is a semi-parody of The Green Pastures. Heaven is shown as paradise. God damn it. With the black St. Peter reading a paper that informs them that Hades Incorporated is doing much better than they are. St. Peter tells his head angel, Step and Fetch It, to help Heaven and fix the situation immediately. And of course, they give him the most grating, idiot Sambo voice imaginable.
Come here, right over this way. Come here, I got something to tell you.
Oh my god, make it stop! And I'm not saying that you can't have black characters that are dumb. Hell, one of my favorite TV shows growing up is Kel from Kenan and Kel. But the difference is this, his stupidity is not dependent on him being black. Here, that's exactly what it's all about. This voice is directly derived from the stereotypical Sambo voice, a pathetic bastardization of white guys trying to copy southern black mannerisms because they think it's funny. It's like Boomhauer, except where King of the Hill is surrounded by other humanized Texas characters that ultimately show that his mannerisms are just an aspect of their culture, playfully exaggerated by those who may know someone in the South who's hard to understand. The Sambo character is frequently surrounded by other caricatures who are stereotypes that make his exaggerations sound unwarrantedly mean-spirited.
So Gabriel goes to Harlem and stands by a sign that says Paradise needs you. Opportunity, travel, good food, watermelon.
Because of course they had to specifically say watermelon.
Clean living, music, and talkies. But everyone keeps going about their business. So the angels, who are caricatures themselves of jazz musicians like Louis Armstrong and Cab Calloway, tell St. Peter that he needs a rhythm to get people to come to heaven.
The recruited musicians go to Harlem and perform, causing the Harlem residents to flock to them. People follow the band as it goes to Paradise, where they receive their halos.
In the cartoon, there are caricatures of Bill Robinson and Al Jolson to boot as they perform snippets of blackface tunes.
June and Springer, I love to sing about a sunny boy. Sunny boy, my little sunny boy.
People legitimately thought this was funny.
But the company actually had trouble distributing the cartoon, and the producer remarked that Clean Pastures gave him more trouble with the Hays Code than any live-action film. It was alleged that the cartoon had violated the Hays Code because of burlesqued religion.
What the hell does that mean?
You know, like the idea that they actually allowed gambling and drinking and dancing and, worst of all to white people in the 1930s, jazz into heaven.
Perish the thought.
And as we all know, white people are the only authority on heaven and what Jesus would want and look like. Breen, one of the censors, said, "I am certain that such scenes would give serious offense to many people in all parts of the world." I mean, he was right. Though the Hays Code letter doesn't exactly specify what Breen objected to, it was enough for the cartoon to cut offensive phrases and scenes. The cartoon has also never been distributed on home video, laserdisc, or DVD. The white audiences who had seen Green Pastures had reinforced notions that saw black people as a default collective danger unless they adapted the religion that was most comfortable with the white folks. Christianity. Interestingly enough here, the choice of jazz musicians Louis Armstrong and Cab Calloway being depicted as angels indicates that they had crossover appeal that was strong enough not to be threatened by the idea that they were angels in heaven, with heaven representing the urban north in some interpretations rather than just heaven itself. How you hold it up?
How many are left?
8.